Herzlich willkommen zu unserer 24. Ausgabe Chat with Funky Space. Ja, ich heiße Sie herzlich willkommen. Neben mir sitzt wie gewohnt meine liebe Kollegin Toni und mietet sich ein. Ich habe so den Eindruck, es geht ihr persönlich, gesundheitlich auch ein bisschen besser. Sie hatte sich in der letzten Zeit erkältet gehabt und das hat man doch immer wieder auch gehört. Sie hat sich immer wieder entschuldigt, zumindest in der Form von Milady, für die Huster oder ja teilweise auch belegte Stimme. Und so freue ich mich auf heute, Sie hier begrüßen zu dürfen. Merke natürlich, wie so meistens, dass langsam aber sicher diese Energie sich hier niederlässt, ausbreitet und von meiner Seite herzlich willkommen geheißen ist.
Yes, my dear friends, my dear Space Radio, my dear
world
down there. I need to speak like that, it's like, we are not flying objects, but we are just, an intelligence, which is much more than you can really think or know. And much more that you really can also understand. And so we want also to speak about this intelligence, which is in everything what you have on your earth, but it's also what is not in your earth. So it's something which is like looking at the sky and know that it's full of magic. And this magic has determination. This magic has these mathematics fields that we already talked about that. Yeah. And it has waves and colors. And now to really also focus on why things happen in your world. And I want really also to talk about gravity. We spoke also about gravity in other sessions, so podcasts and registration, how you call it, what it happens. The more you go up to the sky, the more you, let me say, introduce yourself as human beings with your objects in the atmosphere. What does that mean for the world, and what does that mean for your waves, and what that means also what it's going on Earth. So I need to explain it like that. You have these objects that you want to go up to the sky, you want to go, or you have been also up to other planets, you have been to the moon, and it was not so, it was not a daily thing, it was not just like getting into your car and go from A to B, but it was something which was not really, let me say, something which was not a daily use. And now you want really to make, let me say, space visits. You want to regulate it like something like going to holiday. Now you just take, this very, how you say, big ship, and you want just to go up there and you do it. And now you think that this introducing with this machine, the waves, which are in the universe, which are in the atmosphere, that they don't cause something on Earth. And now that's a big mistake that you're thinking like that. What happens in the world, you will have, and I'm sorry to say it like that, more and more unpredictable and ununderstandable going under or break down about metallic material. So you need to understand that focusing on that, the what you call static in mathematics, what you have done until now in your world, you always had to fulfill, how you call it, you needed, when you wanted to do a bridge and you wanted to build a bridge, you needed to know all these mathematics that this bridge doesn't break down.
Richtig, die Verhältnisse, dass sie hält.
And now,
die statischen Ausrechnungen, Vermessungen, die mussten stimmen für den Erbau einer Brücke.
Exactly. And now you're asking yourself why millions of years ago they just built things with stone, because they knew already because of all that, just introducing things into the atmosphere, come back differently and come back in a different wave, and just break things down. And it's like introducing a needle which is not clean enough to the space, that you get a different output which is not clean. And this not cleanless is, that you really have to be careful on what you're building on steel and iron, because it makes these numbers of these waves of energy, these waves of gravity. It gives a different push. And so you need to understand, and you have already...
eine andere Schwingung,
exactly,
die an die Metalle heran...
especially on metals and iron. So you need to understand...
weil die einfach sehr leitungsfähig sind, oder empfänglich.
Exactly. Now what you do and what you have on Earth is that you fly also with airplanes, and you have everything on metallic bases. And... the thing is, through this interruption in the atmosphere, you get different waves, and you get different, let me say, outputs on metallic.
Ja, dort, wo das Leck ist, kann die Schwingung natürlich dann, also wenn ich da mit der unsauberen Nadel hineingestochen habe, habe ich ein kleines Leck. Und dort heraus allein können wir uns logisch eben zurechtdenken, dort schwingt natürlich dann andere Energie heraus.
Yes, and this is something which you don't know, and you're asking yourself, and you're asking yourself as scientist, and you're asking yourself as, how could that happen? Because we did this, and we have just, we didn't ignore that, but you don't understand why things are breaking down. So also airplanes don't get this... you are confused about if you put something to have a look on it, and you think that it's okay. With these atmospheric disbalances, things can not be okay, even the next day. So be aware that, everything which is metallic has a different issue in relation to the mathematics, on Earth.
So the Schwingung.
Yes, and we talked also about that with the DNA. We talked also about that, about illnesses, and we talked also about that in blood, that, all these issues that you think that you need that as human beings are something which just produce a different side effect. It's like, as I told, it's like this needle, and you put, you want just to make an injection in a person's body, and it's not clean enough, or it is, with an infection. You just get in an infection, and you get problems afterwards. And this is the same thing, putting too much into the atmosphere, which just give a different gravity. You just get it as an output on Earth, and also an output in natural events.
Also reagiert das jetzt mittlerweile so schnell, also wirklich wie wenn ich den Boomerang werfe, dann dreht der ab einem gewissen Punkt und kommt direkt auf mich zurück.
Yes, and what's the problem that you don't know where? So you will have, excuse me to say it, also much more bigger holes in Earth places. So if there are places where the Earth just makes a big hole, and you can't understand why, it's also a result of that. You will have also
also wie ein Einschlag von Meteoriten oder ein Erdbeben, was die Erde aufreißen lässt.
Yes, exactly, but it's not an earthquake. So it's and don't confuse it also with earthquakes. It
Eine
is
Erdbewegung.
We talked also about that, in what you can have as in the sea. It just gives a different dynamic into the atmosphere and into gravity. That's what I want to say. And into this different dynamic, it just you get more problems in things that you don't have an answer for it.
Ja, wir können es auch nicht begründen oder herleiten.
Exactly, because you're thinking just that everything which is on earth and which is handmade by human beings should have the effect that it must be like that. And everything, and that's why, well, at that time, well, millions of years ago, they didn't have, iron like you have it now, and how you work with iron or metal. And now you have to think that this is something which is just like getting into a hot fire.
Also eine stärkste Reaktion, die es auslöst.
Yeah. And also the gravity which impacts, as it looks, for human beings that something happened in the earth, when you have a hole in the earth, but it comes from above. So you need to understand that gravity just
Energie
exactly
drumherum.
works completely different as you in your world.
Als was wir sonst im Alltag uns so zurechtdenken können und erklären.
And you need to understand now, let me say, we talk also about the sickness or the illness on earth, and not the sickness, the physical illness. What we talk about the geographically illness in the world. And so this is also something that you need to understand, that things like that happen more and more. So we talked also once that we don't want you with all these devices up in the sky. Just don't move that much, don't move that much what you think that is something that every human being needs to fly to the moon and have a cup of tea on the moon, So it's not something that you don't have to exclude the problems that you have statistically in your worlds, geographically, and also in city places where things just have a different dynamic. Very important that you know that.
Die wir jetzt nicht absehen
Excuse
können.
me, yes. So now you're asking yourself why millions of years ago or thousands of years ago, people, or they just build things with stones, bridges with stones, or they build houses, with wood. It was a different dynamic, but metallic things get a different dynamic also. So this is above the earth, and also the dynamic which goes into the earth. So you really need to understand, and these waves you can't see them. That's the problem. You don't have the knowledge of getting into this information.
Also das sind auch Schwingungen, die können wir, diese Energieschwingungen können wir mit unseren gängigen Messgeräten, können wir die auch nicht eruieren, nicht mal.
You have only, the earthquakes, you have waves, you have weather condition, you have also phenomenal different weather conditions that you can't understand, and this is something which really gets also into that, and it gets more and more. So what we want to say also and speak out, it's not only, what you think that's climate change. You also need to understand that it's also what is already now going, and you want always to have more also in the sky and also in the universe. It makes something with the conditions of what you are and what you are doing on Earth. Because you don't understand the gravity, you can't see gravity as something real in your world. You can't understand what happens. And this is the problem,
Das kann ich sehr gut
Yes,
verstehen.
and now you need to understand that all these phenomenal events which happen in your world, and you are standing or sitting in front of a big question mark because you don't have an answer on that. You need to realize that through these conditions that you get into different spaces, it changed also the gravity of how it was before. So the statics that you have in your world are, let me say, like old-fashioned. It gets more and more also, yes.
Verstehe.
It's like an old rope.
Ja, was der Witterung schon ziemlich
and you will get more and more, and yes,
ist.
and it's also your how you call it, weather conditions.
Yes.
Excuse me, the weather conditions are getting more sensitive to this gravity, to this upcoming gravity. It gets more and more, and so every time also that this little man wants to go up to the universe, it changes a lot.
Das wird das sogar auch verzeichnen. Und was verändert sich?
It is the gravity.
Die Reaktion, die wir dann bemerken?
Yes. And reactions are very, what you have right now on Earth is, that you think that you can do everything above the Earth, but you don't know the effects on how this gravity reacts on your Earth and on your daily living and on what you have on your Earth.
Also so, auch an dem wirklich terrestrischen Planeten Erde. Unser Zuhause.
Yes. Because it was something, that you looked until years ago, just with your telescope, you just wanted to know, but now you get into an atmosphere which is not yours, and so now you say, well, but we are human beings, everything is ours and we can do whatever we want, but now just also take in consideration that it just come back also in the gravity of Earth-made and human-made things.
Dass das so einen direkten eine Auswirkung hat. Und dass Energieströmungen, Energiewinde, Schwingungen aufeinander, auch wenn sie anderer Qualität sind, anderer Frequenz, aber dass die viel schneller reagieren aufeinander, ist verständlich im Verhältnis zu uns Menschen. Wir sind einfach mit unserem Vehikel, Körper unterwegs und müssen unsere Sinne und dürfen unsere Sinne noch etwas schärfen, unsere Sensitivität.
Yes, you need to understand that gravity has, you have maps in your world where you can see the landscape, you can see, the construction of mountains, of cities, of villages, of the earth, of earthquakes, of, you have numbers, you have weather condition, you have everything, but you don't have a map with gravity. You don't have that on Earth. And you can't understand gravity if you don't consider that gravity is a map for itself as well. And it works also in and on the Earth and in the atmosphere. And this is, excuse me to say it, old astronomers, they knew about this intelligence, and astrology and astronomy was something that was completely, looked completely with different eyes on an epoch, and they were so much further with knowledge, and everybody at that time thought, well, this human being is just a stupid man or woman, or just he doesn't understand anything. But those people knew about this gravity completely different and in a very impact way, and in a very intensive way that could also sign up with illustrations to let people understand what's the future. Now we are telling also what's the future, and this future is, as we talked already in the last session and the registration, that everything comes back now so much quicker to the earth. It is a timetable in your world that implements the reconstruction of the earth, this illness which is on earth, in a very high-speed way.
Das ist quasi die Heilung, also der Prozess der Heilung, den die Erde da durchgeht. Also wirklich, sich zu revitalisieren.
And you need to look at your, in your world, you're focusing too much on little things, also what happens, or where you want to put let me say, fresh tomatoes, for example. You look, how much, something has to wait and something has to be on their, let me say, how you call it, on their shape, So you're just putting the eye on something so, I would really call it like in a negative way on something so small that you can't see the big problem behind that.
Yeah.
So if you don't have a banana anymore in your world, it doesn't matter, or you care about it when you don't have bananas in your world, but you don't think now about how and why we don't have bananas one day anymore.
Yeah.
So you just put, on what you see and what you can reconfirm. But, you need always to understand, and we talked also about that, the bigger frame. You need to see it in the bigger frame and the complexity of everything, not only of one determination and one place. And this is what you're doing, and you are doing it also with your science, and you're doing it also with, with the knowledge that you give also to what you have pupils in your world. And now you need to understand that this upcoming generation, which is still they are babies or little in age, they understand the world completely different. So when you talk to, let me say, and not everybody for sure, but to those children, they understand gravity completely different, and they know about some problems. So they are the teachers of the elderly ones, or of the elderly people and population, because they know about, not, as I told you, not everyone, about this knowledge. Just take this knowledge, incorporate it already in their brain. And that's good, because they know how to survive that time.
Ja, eben, das bringen sie mit. Inneliegend, so implementiert. Richtig, was uns fehlt als solches, und das, was sie immer wieder betonen, ist wirklich diesen Blick zu weiten für über meine egoistischen Bedürfnisgrenzen hinüber.
Yes, I'm sorry to say it a little bit like that. It's like, human beings, and I don't want to say it in a negative way. You just used your brain to survive a certain epoch in your world. And now a different brain is needed to continue on the way that this population can survive and have the knowledge on what they have to do. So also animals just are confronted, or have been confronted with no water, or with restriction what nature gave, but they just reconfirm their let me say their their knowledge and also their survival trip. And so also this exactly, and so also the human being will just confirm let me say the brain wave in survival trip, because they have to survive the world completely different. It's no longer what you have right now on Earth, as I told already in a past registration. It is something which really will start to get into a different direction, yes. And this is something which you can't understand as human being if you don't have this knowledge. And now don't think that this is something in 400 or 500 years. It really takes time now in your world, and you see it already with many things which are and have been happen in your world, are happening and will happen, and you don't have the clue why.
Es gibt keinerlei wissenschaftliche Belege, nicht mal Hypothesen,
but that's your
die
problem.
angestellt werden können.
Yes, because as we talked already once, the black and white thinking that you have, but as we told also that the brain is in everything, but you don't use your brain to get into that brain, So you need to understand how you would want to know the whole cosmology if you don't even know, what happens outside your skin at the next door. So, and you want to survive everything with your cameras, but you don't, these things you can't, the surveillance, how you call it, surveillance, this is a French word that you want das also Überleben. You have to look and have a look on everything, and you want really to
den Überwachungsstaat.
Yes, you want to, let me say, put everything into into something that you can have an eye on it, but you don't have an eye on that brain. And this is a universal brain, yes.
Ja. Ich verstehe Sie auch so. Aus dem Grund erscheinen Sie uns hier immer wieder durch Milady und wir dürfen wirklich sehr delikate Fragen an Sie stellen, was die Zukunft, die nähere Zukunft, die aktuelle Situation anbelangt.
So because
sehr dezidierte Antworten uns geben.
Be also careful on all the statistics elements you have built, like bridges, which are very, let me say, a fallout in your world.
Ja, also aktuell haben wir hier in Deutschland eine Brücke, die jetzt das zweite Mal schon noch eingebrochen ist aus unerfindlichen Gründen.
That's also what I want to mention on that it will just really get into normality, that it happens.
Und wie Sie das jetzt auch vorgängig erklärt haben, ich meine, Brücken sind meistens ziemlich rein metallische Gebilde.
Yes,
also da haben wir das Metall mit drin, die ganzen
and also boats, and also
richtig.
big boats. So don't be, just really rethink. That's why also we talked already once about how you want to travel in the future, because you have really to think what can you just what kind of fruits or vegetable can grow. In your places that you don't have to export it also. You need to understand, that a horse wasn't a bad, let me say, a bad element to transport something. Well, you can transport bananas with the horse, from the North Pole to the South Pole, but just to give you a simple example. But you need to understand that this is something which goes into this problem, yes.
Oh, yeah.
And also airplanes. So you have more and more problems with defects airplanes in your world, and you don't understand why.
Probleme, die da plötzlich auftauchen.
Yes, it is really and it is really this this gravity which change, the forces in the air, in the atmosphere.
Ja, die Kräfteverhältnisse auch. Ja. Klar.
Yeah, you need to understand that to continue also as a population in your world, to understand, what happens and how you can continue also.
Ja,
and not to ignore it.
Richtig.
Yes.
Also ich verstehe Sie schon so in die Richtung, dass Sie uns eine Packlist quasi hier liefern für unsere neuen Dimensionen, die wir hier auf diesem terrestrischen Planeten Erde auch begehen dürfen. Es ist ja Teil unserer Erfahrung, unseres Lebens.
Yes.
Und manchmal ist es wirklich hilfreich. Man hat so ein bisschen, ich sage, einen Tipp mit in der Hosentasche, den man erhalten hat, und auch Hinweise, auf das wir wach werden.
Yes, it is a superior intelligence, and this superior intelligence is not something which is written, so don't even look and search for it, because it is really too high elevated energies to understand this mathematics. Yes.
Vor allem um es auch zu transportieren, also auch zu übersetzen, sage ich mal hier, in eine verständliche Sprache heute, die Lingua Franca, das Englisch, die dafür verwendet wird, aber auch von den körpereigenen Energien, sprich Frequenzen, die ich erreichen muss, um diese Tätigkeit in meinen Gehirnstrukturen zu bewältigen.
Also to mention, and it's not something to afraid people, but it's something that you can have a look on it, or that it comes the day where Milady will be asked, well, where we have just to put an eye on which bridge or on which, what we have to do, because you will see, and this is something that you can understand only when you see that it happens. And unfortunately, it happens because you don't know it. And now to listen and to understand why it happens, it gives you a different eye, and you open your eyes to really rethink some constructions as well, and to I don't want to say rebuild, because as we told already, there will be less human beings, but to rethink what you have to build as well.
Und wie?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And this is a knowledge which is not, I always say, it's not something which is in 400 or 500 years. It's something which starts now, and you really have to rethink, you're living on Earth. Yeah. And, if you really want to know where it will be, the next bridge which will fall down, I'm sorry to say it like that.
Gerne, sehr gerne wollen wir das wissen.
Put an eye on going west, on Western countries, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Because you need to understand the waves, you need to understand these gravity waves, which you don't have on your, as I told you, you just
wir
see.
nicht auf unserer Agenda. Wir kennen diesen Wert nicht.
The gravity wave, you really need to understand the gravity wave. Yeah. And it's something which is new. So, as we already told many times, you had dinosaurs in your world, and you had different animals, you had different diseases, you had different everything, but you need to understand the mathematics, what the mathematics means and what the mathematics transforms. So the more you have and the more you want to go into the future, you need also to understand what throw you back and what the future make also with you in problems, and what problems you need to resolve in the future. So it's not that the future just gives you and brings you everything, but you need also to understand the importance of what will, let me say, just, it's like, something, how you call that? Something just react on what you have done and reacts on the way you are. It's in the unexpected way. It reacts in the unexpected way that you can't understand why something which was made by human being reacts on that way. Yes, I think that's the right definition.
Oh ja, sehr schön erklärt. Ja, eben, wir müssen quasi eine neue Sprache entwickeln, eine Kommunikationsform, sprich auch diese Gravitationswellen, von denen wir wissen, aber wir haben keine.
You don't have the clue of it. You don't have the key and not the clue.
Ja, genau.
Don't understand.
Yeah.
It's important that you know that, so you can also understand that wood has a different impact also in how things will be made again in wood and in stone, and you just come away from that. And also you need to understand heating up on certain places and the fire in certain places, what fire also can destroy, while also wood but not stone. So you need to understand also why in some epochs things have been built in stone, because stone or on stone or with stones, because stone was always something which is it doesn't react like that on all the natural events and elements.
Ja, klar, ist natürlich der Natur noch viel verwandter durch die Härte.
Yes, and what you need to do as well, what you have on your earth is you measure every earthquake. You measure every earthquake, but what you don't know is where the bigger one are coming and showing up. Yeah. So you think that, the little bigger one, the little ones which, they have different scales, and you have a scale until 9 and 10 is already something that you can't understand. But now with all this changement, also the scales will be different. And you need to understand also that when something happens up in the north place, it has a very big effect in the south place. And when something happens in the south place, it has a big impact in the north places. So you need to understand. This is why I'm saying gravity and the knowing about the let me say mathematically illnesses of the world. You need to understand it differently, and you need also to work in the future with this, let me say, comments from our part, because if you want to really let me say survive, you need to understand that. You need also to help people to get out of something. You need to understand also how you call it, in a case when something happens, you need to react on that. And with your knowledge right now on Earth, you can't even react because you don't know that something can be that big.
Ja, das kennen wir bisher nicht.
Yes, yes. And you need to make this globally as, you are focused in your world on so small problems about if you can, excuse me to say it like that, if you can just put the color, let me say, red on a house instead of knowing if the house is still there in 5 years or not. So this is just not an importance on the little things you are thinking about and problems you are thinking about in your world. Now you say, well, as a human being, we had to do something that we can live in a certain freedom. But now the freedom is just like interrupted by the natural effects of the world and the illness of the world, what we talked before. And you need to understand and reflect this completely different in the future as well. Yes.
Ja, also ich sehe das immer noch als Teil ihrer Packliste.
Yes.
Was wir so,
it's like Christmas,
Ja, ein bisschen.
Well, it has also good things,
Auf jeden Fall. Und ich meine, Änderung war immer etwas, mit dem wir es als Menschheit einfach schwer haben, unsere eigene Schwerkraft, die Trägheit, die nicht mit will. Also das ist ein natürliches Phänomen. Aber wir lernen auch teilweise einfach nicht so, ich sag mal, interessiert, weil es uns in der jetzigen Situation auch, wenn ich sage, zu gut geht, wir sind es nicht anders gewöhnt. Und aus dieser Komfortzone herauszugehen und neue Werte oder Lebensumstände zu erfahren, entspricht der menschlichen Natur, ja, aber wir sind sehr sesshaft und sehr wohlhabend geworden.
Yes, because you lose you have your physical brain, but you don't have the consciousness in your brain.
Yeah.
And you're looking at the consciousness in your brain, and you think that it's just a gene that you can just, that doctors just can take out and know this is, the gene of the DNA of the consciousness, but this consciousness is not something that you can find in the human body. So this is something that you can only connect with your brain. Yeah. And you need to be prepared. And this is something where people they are not prepared and they lost it. And so, if you are not connected to this higher knowledge of mathematics, you are lost. And this is the direction you are going as humanity right now. Yeah. And we talked also about that, in which direction you want to go, because every place and every community and political systems and countries and school and development in that country and how you say, and fortune teller in that country just think and know everything better than what the consciousness in the world consists. And if you don't have this, it's like an essence you need to know that you can understand it. And the more people are in this consciousness, they can talk completely different together because they know about what they are telling and saying and knowing. And they want to share this knowledge that it is also a survival. It's like a survival guide also for human beings. But there will be also good things with all that. You really need to understand it, also focus on something new, which is better for the upcoming generation and also for some which are still on the earth or will survive also that time. Well, as a human being, you are not there for 500 years in your world. So expect also that many people are not there anymore in this 10 to 23 years. We already told that this is the timetable that these things are really showing up in a very, let me say, it's like, every day something. I don't want to speak about a present, but I want to speak about things which will occur,
Ja, und deshalb weisen Sie ja auch immer wieder darauf hin, diese Erscheinungen, die jetzt auch die Erdkruste uns zeigt, wie die in einer Verbindung, sprich auch Abhängigkeit voneinander, also Nord und Süd, wie das korreliert, wie das miteinander reagiert, heute in einem anderen Ausmaß, wie wir es eben bis jetzt nicht kennen. Also Sie sprechen auch davon, dass die Werte der Richterskala für die Erdbeben sich komplett verändern wird, also dass das nicht mehr wie zurechnungsfähig sein wird, so verstehe ich Sie. Also wir haben auch mit unseren festgesetzten Werten, werden wir sowas von stark konfrontiert, weil sie sind nicht mehr das. Das zeigt sich überall. Ganz gleichgültig.
Yes, you're a scientist, you're sitting in front of question marks in many things. And you need really to understand, and how you say and spoke it out right now, the correlation of everything, and everything is in everything, and everything is mathematic, and you need to understand this language, and that's what you don't know on your earth.
Ja, und diese Sterngucker in früheren Zeiten, die hatten natürlich auch noch die Gabe, sage ich mal, das zu deuten.
Not
das
everyone,
Bild.
but yes,
Richtig,
yes.
aber die Weisen, von denen man teilweise auch bis heute weiß, was gesagt worden ist, Propheten.
Yes, and they could survive during times where we really more, let me say, they had different problems on a time where now you think you don't have problems, because you think that you don't have problems, and you are like living in a box of how you call it, I could say, like it's like right now excuse me, you're living in a box and you don't like you like surprises as human being, but now you're jumping because of these events. You're jumping, or you really you get pushed. It's not a jumping. You get pushed in the box of surprise, but you don't like these surprises, and these surprises are something that you have to go over and take it and look, how to go further on. And this is what's happened now in the world,
Und das bezeichnet ja auch Entwicklung.
Yes.
Also wir müssen die Prozesse gehen.
You have to define it in a different way, and don't make it with artificial intelligence, because they will not give you the right answer. So
wir werden nicht weiterkommen, nehme ich an.
Not at all. Not at all.
Schritte zurück. Geschleudert werden, in dem Sinn, weil es nicht die menschliche Intelligenz als solches anknabbert.
Yes, and it is also electricity, as we already told. It is a fact that electricity will always be, also through this gravity impact, will always be, it's like a shot down and shot again, that you have light or electricity, and that's another shutdown. So it's something that, it's a come and a go of something that it was never like that in the world. And now these effects will also really, really go ahead in a very speedy way, and more time that you really can think about it. So it's not just only in a small place, it goes around the world and always and very much also. I'm sorry to say that. So you have also to rethink what does mean electricity in the future. You will not have it. So now you're thinking about in some places that you have solar energy, but this will not be the solution. I'm sorry to say it like that. Gravity makes much more damage than you even can imagine,
Das heißt auch die Solarenergie.
It's not the conclusion of your problems,
Wird das nicht bedienen können, das Volumen, was wir anzapfen wollen, oder wie verstehe ich Sie da richtig?
It's
das, was wir meinen, was
no,
wir
it's like a stop and go. It's like a stop and go, and you need to understand the gravity. And when you understand, it is like exactly. It is a stop and go and stop and go. So it doesn't mean that when you have all this, when you just have this system all over the world, that you think that you have energy for the rest of our lifetime and for the rest of millions of years. It's a stop and ago because of these gravity effects. And now scientists are surely saying, well, it's not on black and white and how you can know. But this is your problem that you will have to resolve it when it gets to the bigger effect that you don't have electricity for many weeks, and for many problems are coming ahead. You're not prepared. That's why we are saying that,
Ja, verstehe ich sofort.
But you need also to understand, and you can only understand as human being, that's your brain. Your brain is focused on an answer, and you need always an answer that you can see and it matches with what you are saying. So we are giving you the answer before it happens, that you have an answer how you can react.
Eben, also nochmal hinzuweisen, die Packliste. Also zu achten heißt es, zu achten.
Yes.
Und es zeigt uns auch, also die Stromausfälle als solches, das wird uns das Genick brechen. Unser System ist absolut nicht so ausgelegt. In so vielerlei Hinsicht, dass das wie zum Kollateralschaden
Well, you can't have everything. And what you want as human being, you want to get bigger, you want to have everything, you want to have it very rapidly, and you want it to have all the time. And now from the outside, all these things start to stock. And you stuck in all that, and you get you have to get used in that problems when it stocks. And this is something which is we're just telling you that problems are really coming ahead, and it's like looping problems. Problems in the loop. And we want just, we really want to say you have also good things when you just open your eyes and your mind, and you're just also, it's a different handling on what you have and what you're doing in the future. And you really need to, let me say, as community, you need really to rethink in which direction you want to go. If you want to continue like that, you can be sure that in 10 years you're gone as humanity and as living people like you are right now. You really need to react on what is showing up now. And it is, as we already told in the beginning of the registration of podcasts. Already, yes. We always said you really need to understand the mathematical terms of gravity. You need to understand what does that mean. You need to understand this knowledge that you really can focus on different solutions of those problems. Because right now you don't have a solution for nothing. You think that you have solutions because you're just thinking with your brain, but you're not thinking with the big brain. In the big frame. Well, it's no frame. I need really to say that there is no frame.
Den Fokus überhaupt zu öffnen dafür, also für die Brisanz und Aktualität der Thematik.
Yes, because you think, it was a discussion in your world when there were people or at that time a person saying that the world is round and it's not just how you call it, a plate, and yes, it's a flat plate, it's looking like a plate. And now consider that this round ball, we call it always the fireball, is it's a living construction, and this living construction, fire needs everything. Fire needs, also the element that it can really survive. And this surviving is something that you need to understand and to know. So the knowledge that we are giving to you as human beings is the knowledge of the intelligence, which is consciousness also in the atmosphere, in the nature, in the mathematics of the nature, Also, for example, you're asking yourself why in many places you see thousands and tons of fishes dead, So we talked about that. They are acting on gravity measures and on gravity events. They are acting with and they make it visible to you as human beings, but you're still looking for the answer why it happens. And that's why we are talking about that. And as we always say, we don't want to afraid people, but really rethink how you want to live in your world.
Ja, nein, sie kommen quasi als Berater mit dazu, der Weise diese ganze Information
with wisdom, with a lot of wisdom. But they don't have
herunterbricht für uns, sodass es für uns in gewisser Weise zumindest verständlich wird, aber auch aus dem Erdinnern. Es ist nicht nur um uns herum, sondern es ist ja auch aus dem, ich sag mal, innersten Erdkern. Sie sprechen von dem Feuerball, dem Planeten Erde, der sich ewig wandelt. All diese Informationen bringen sie hier in Worten
It's time to
wieder.
It's time because the evolution in the world and for the world continues, but not with your knowledge and not with your, let me say, brain, and not with this community of human beings, which will, which can't go on with the old knowledge, because the old knowledge or what you have, and you think that it's a basic in your world will not continue as a basic in your world. It will be just an old basic, which is, as we always say, it's a little bit the Stone Age period that it has, that it comes to an end.
Ja, natürlich. Eben, da können wir wieder die Zyklen ansprechen, die kommen und vergehen.
Yes, for sure.
Es ist eine Hochzeit und es wird auch wieder verebben, sich verändern, das stetig. Was wir doch kennen, ist diese Veränderung, so ist das Leben.
And it's also something that was always in the evolution of the earth and human beings. And this is the next step that you are confronted with, But it has also good things, as I told you. There are also good things showing up.
Die Seite der Münze hören wir doch auch so gerne.
Yes, it is also that those, let me say, communities in the future have much more responsibility for planet Earth. So this, it's a very big contribution that also these children and showing up and which will be born and still some are already there. They have this, let me say, they bring also the world to a shiny, it's like, it's like, how you call it, when you clean up your shoes, you polish your shoes, right now we have dirty shoes, and now these children with their knowledge, they come up, and it's not something which is learned on university, I need to say that, it's really the consciousness, and this, let me say, it's like, in there, because let me say it's a knowledge which is included in their beings, and they come to polish the world. Let me say it like that. So and they come with lots of polish, and a lot of polished places will take place also in the world, so that you also can be, let me say, happy about this gift giving also to planet Earth, but there is also that this elderly generation really needs also to really focus and not really telling to the youth and these children coming up what they need to do, because they have, the better thing in mind than the old ones. And it's not that the old ones did it wrong. They did it for their time in the best way that they could. But now those children are really coming to polish it up. You need to understand that.
Sind wie so
diese
leuchtenden
Sterne oder Engel, and they polish. They are very good worker. They were really good workers. So yes, and we are also
viel Licht,
exactly.
Unsäglich viel Licht irgendwie und Wärme
and they transform it also in the good way. Yes, very
auf
much.
Die Erde bringen.
Well, so that was the session for today, and we're always happy, to bring you and give you informations. And really share it with those people which are include also those generation, and include also those people which want to really let me say have this to understand what is going up right now in your earth.
Ich danke Ihnen.
Thank you so much, and excuse me my voice, my dear, but hear and listen you next time. Thank you so much. Bye bye, my dear. Bye bye.